Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the United Stand. I do know it says Goldbridge on the thumbnail, but I sincerely apologize. That is not my fault. Blame the producers. Anyways, but I'm here, Tanbridge, as some people would call me, or Fazbridge, or whatever you want to call me. We will be bringing you all the latest from the press conference ahead of the Copenhagen Champions League game tomorrow. A must-win game for Manchester United. There are lots and lots of quotes that I want to get into and break it down for you all and bring up on the screen as well. It was Diogo Dalot alongside Erik ten Hag, who was in the press conference today. Beth and Ryan, who visited Carrington to go and cover the press conference. I've got lots and lots that I want to bring up to you all. So let's get straight into it. I mean, first and foremost, the extreme unfortunate passing of Sir Bobby Charlton, our legend, footballing legend. Erik ten Hag spoke loads on him and spoke very highly of him as well. I saw lots of different media outlets as well covering this, which is very, very nice to see. But the first one that is Erik ten Hag on Sir Bobby. He says, as you say, Bobby Charlton is a legend, a giant, not only for Manchester United, but for football. His legacy, what he left, was high standards. We have to live here every day. Our thoughts are with his family, wife and children, sending his condolences to them. And he also says on dealing with emotions, he says, we are professionals, it's our job, but we must use those emotions in the right way. I saw a goal from Sir Bobby Charlton at Wembley and from distance, and Diego's was like that. So he's referring to the previous game that we played against Sheffield United, and he's referring to the goal that he saw of Sir Bobby Charlton at Wembley to Diogo Dalot's goal against Sheffield United as well, a world-class goal. Yeah, obviously, Sir Bobby Charlton has been a massive part of football and a massive part of Manchester United. And you know what? It's important in this moment that the team, the manager, footballing world take their time to remember the beautiful soul that Sir Bobby Charlton was, the beautiful player that Sir Bobby Charlton was. And you know, he's in front of our club. He's got a stand named after him. And it's important that the team continually use this as motivation to go forward. I know Rashford put out a beautiful picture as well of when he signed for the club, and Sir Bobby was behind him in his family portrait picture as well. And yeah, it's like I say, it's important that the team use this as motivation for the next games, because we need everything that we can get. We need all the motivation, all the uplifting and the positivity that we can get. So that's very nice from Erik to say. I can already see lots of people in here. So as I read out the quotes as well, please do comment down below and let us know what you think of some of the comments as well. Unfortunately, some people are just joining the show, but yeah, there is no mark on the show. Unfortunately, it does say that on the thumbnail, so I do apologize for that. But I'm sure Mark will be live at some point today or tomorrow to give you all of his takes as well. Moving on though swiftly, Ten Hag speaks a little bit on the team news as well. He says, we hope to have players back from injury. Sergio Reguilon trained all week. Today we will train, then we have to assess if he is game fit or can be available for the squad. So one of the things people were massively concerned over why Sergio Reguilon was not available or was not in the bench for the Sheffield United game, even though he trained. But that's the thing, you may be fit enough to train, but you might not be fit enough for the actual match. So he's trained all week, hoping that he's a bit, you know, sharper, a bit more fitter. So we will see if he's available for tomorrow's game. Obviously, we will try and bring you all the latest on the matchday squad as well. Tomorrow I will be there, as long as with the United Stand team. We will be there to bring you all of that. But it seems like, to me anyways, I think he's going to end up using him tomorrow and utilising him in the team. I think Sergio, because he's trained all week, I think that should be ample amount of time for him to gain match fitness again, considering he didn't get put in the squad for the Sheffield United game. I think he'll be a good addition. And Lindelof played left back and he didn't have, you know, let's be honest, he's not a left back by any means. He could play a decent job in right back, and that's one of the things I would love to ask Erik ten Hag is why he didn't use Lindelof as a right back and Diogo Dalot as a left back. But then on the other side, because he didn't, Lindelof was the one I think that passed it to Diogo Dalot, and then Dalot ended up scoring that goal, if I'm not mistaken. So it worked out in the end. A lot of people were saying put Diogo on the left, but we probably wouldn't have got the goal if that was the case. So yeah, moving on as well. Let me bring up the rest of the quotes. Ten Hag speaks on Copenhagen, FC Copenhagen. He says, "We have to win every game. If you lose the first 2 games, you definitely have to win." So we are not in a good position right now by any means at all. We need to absolutely, by any means necessary, win tomorrow, because if we don't win tomorrow, then I think the Champions League is done for us. That's just plain and simple. It's highly unlikely that Bayern Munich are going to, you know, lose a game at this rate, and it's highly unlikely that we can defeat Bayern Munich as well. So considering that, I think tomorrow winning, getting the 3 points, getting a couple of goals will help us in the table, in the group stages as well. And also it depends on what happens on the other games. It's football. The thing is, you just never know. Copenhagen might end up doing a job on Bayern Munich in the next fixture that they play, the next time they play them. But it's all about us. We concentrate on ourselves, and we must win tomorrow. And I said it before on the morning show, and I said it to the producers and Beth before as well in the morning. And Copenhagen, we cannot sit here and overlook them. We cannot look at them as they're an easygoing target. You know, that's one of the mistakes that we cannot make. Copenhagen scored first in both of their Champions League games. So keep that in mind. The fact that they can score 2 goals against Galatasaray when they were playing away is a big thing. Let me just bring some details up as well that I wanted to bring up for you guys. Let me see. It's not coming. There we go. Yeah, they scored against Bayern as well first, and then Bayern obviously came back and won that game. They scored against Galatasaray 2 goals, and then Galatasaray ended up coming back and winning that and drawing that game as well in the Champions League. And right now Copenhagen sit top of their table. No disrespect to their league or anything as such, but with 24 goals scored. So they're clearly a high-scoring team. They're the highest-scoring team in their league as well. The next one is 23. A couple of teams who scored 23 goals, but they're the highest-scoring team in their league with 24 goals. So they can score goals, and we must, you know, keep it tight. I'm expecting Rafa Varane to play tomorrow as well in the Champions League, so he'll be a great addition. Another player that I want to speak on that Erik ten Hag believes brings more football to the team, as per his own words, is Christian Eriksen. And Erik ten Hag speaks on Christian Eriksen, and he says he takes part in every game, and you can see his importance when he is on the pitch. He has a big influence on our team by creating, and he's a brilliant player, someone who is very important to our squad. We have many good players. Reason why he's not starting, and there's internal competition. In the midfield department, there is huge competition. So we're low on numbers when it comes to centre-backs, maybe even some would say forwards, but we're definitely stacked when it comes to that midfield. There's loads of players that are competing for minutes in that midfield, which is I like to call it a good headache. I remember saying this last season as well on forums. I like to call it good headache. Yes, the midfield, some of the players may not be at the highest level that you may consider for Manchester United, but there's still players that can be utilised. There's still players that bring quality quality to the team, that have quality to the team, and he clearly addresses this in this quote where he says he thinks Christian Eriksen is a really creative and a brilliant player. We know that he obviously rates Christian Eriksen very highly, and Eriksen last season had a fantastic time in Manchester United as well. He's ended up staying, but right now as it stands with Sofian Amrabat, with Mason Mount, with Casemiro, with Bruno in there as well, the competition is right up there, and that's why Christian Eriksen is not probably seeing a lot of the minutes that he might have expected. But I said in my ideal midfield front three for tomorrow, I would actually start Christian Eriksen. I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the chat. Would you guys start Christian Eriksen tomorrow? Because I would. I would start a midfield of, there's Hannibal as well, don't forget, who's going to be competing for minutes. But I would probably look at a midfield of Sofian Amrabat, Mason Mount, and Eriksen. But again, that's me saying Bruno might not start, but that's never going to happen. Bruno Fernandes is going to start tomorrow. But would you guys like to see Eriksen start in that midfield? Let me know in the comments. Moving on, anyways, the next quote, and this is from Diogo Dalot, who accompanied Erik ten Hag on the press conference. He said, I think every game, and he speaks on momentum, he says, I think every game for us is an opportunity to show we can build confidence and momentum. When you win, it's easier to get that confidence, and when you don't play how you want to, you have to find a way to win. We've shown that quality, and we need to use these wins for momentum. Funny, momentum was something that I touched on when we played Galatasaray in the Champions League, and I said this game is way bigger than people think, way harder than people think, because the sheer amount of momentum that Galatasaray have. When they faced us, they were 14 games unbeaten in a row. And obviously with us, they made it 15. And momentum can do a massive, massive wonder for football teams. And I remember last season when we had that home run going as well, that home momentum, that really, really helped, especially against the biggest teams, the top 6 teams in the table, and even some in Europe. The cup runs as well, we got somewhat of a bit of a luck, getting so many home fixtures. That helped us as well. So I think he's right. Diogo Dalot is 100% right. Momentum's important. And it's funny how he says, you know, when you don't play how you want to, this is the biggest thing for Manchester United fans, because we aren't playing the way that a lot of fans expect us to play. We're not playing the way a lot of fans want to see Erik ten Hag play football. But you find the answers, and that's what he did. You know, Diogo Dalot came up with the goods in the last moments of the game, towards the last moments of the game. But we can't be doing that all the time. That's not healthy. That's not, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think. I forgot. It slipped out of my mind. But it's not going to work if we keep playing like the way we have been. It's not sustainable. That's the word I was looking. This type of football is not sustainable. It's great to get wins and have the odd goals, you know, 90-odd minute and find freakish goals, but it is definitely not sustainable, and you will get caught out, and especially in the Champions League with the caliber of teams that come in with so much up for grab for any team. Like imagine for FC Copenhagen what it would mean if they could get a result against Manchester United at home. Even if they could get a point, that would be massive for them. They could even look at, if we get a point from Manchester United in their ground, they could maybe say, let's try and go for the second position in the group stage and make it out the group stage. So it's all for grabs. It's absolutely all for grabs right now. Someone in the comments says, Mufaro Anthony says, I would get Potter in today. Well, you have absolutely lost your marbles, you have. If you think Graham Potter could do a job with Manchester United, you have lost your goddamn mind. To think that you could even... some Manchester United fans, each to their own. Ten Hag on Sir Bobby's tribute as well. There's some more. He says, definitely want to win for Sir Bobby. First, we want to win as a tribute to Sir Bobby Charlton. We always want to do that in a certain way, and that's what we're aiming for. So obviously, after the unfortunate passing of Sir Bobby Charlton, it's our first home game back. It is in a cup run, and then our first league game back will be against Manchester City this weekend on Sunday. And he clearly wants the players to think of the absolute absolute legend that Sir Bobby was, and bring the result, bring the win, and do it in a great fashion as well, because he mentions this. He says, we want to do it in a certain way. Well, Erik ten Hag, if you want to do it in a certain way, I am expecting counter-attacking football, because that's the only way we're going to be able to utilize Bruno and Rashford to the point where we could score 2 or 3 goals. I don't think playing the type of football we want to play against FC Copenhagen, who scored loads of goals, we're going to struggle. Moving on, let me just bring that out. Ten Hag speaks on Rasmus Højlund as well. He says he grew up at this club and he will be highly motivated. He will send that in the right direction with the right balance. Interesting how he says this. He says he grew up at this club and he'll be highly motivated. By the way and I'm imagining, because obviously I wasn't there, the presser, but I'm imagining by the way he was speaking to the person who asked the question, it's giving to me that Rasmus Højlund is going to start tomorrow. Yeah, I think Rasmus Højlund is going to start tomorrow. It's a club that he was with when he was much younger, and yeah, he will send he will send that in the right direction with the right balance. So, look, he chooses his words very wisely, Eric, but at times he says some things that make me think otherwise. But very, very interesting how he chooses his words. And he also speaks on another forward, one of his favourites as per last season, Anthony Martial. He says, Ten Hag on Anthony Martial and Rasmus Højlund, he says they can play together because Anthony Martial is also available to play from the side. So a lot of Manchester United fans who were thinking that Anthony Martial might not be able to play from the side, either left or right. Well, Erik ten Hag has debunked that, and he said, look, Anthony Martial is available to be a winger just as much as he's available to be a forward. So Savage says Martial will start in the derby, so no need to start him in the Champions League. Okay, that's fair. I do agree, but derby is a big game as well. Playing against Manchester City, is he going to be able to play the full game? I do want to see Højlund versus Haaland. That would be great box office game. But yeah, Martial is also available to play from the side, but I don't think he's going to play him on any side. I don't think he's going to drop Anthony. I don't think Erik ten Hag is also going to drop Marcus Rashford. The way I look at it is there's 3 players on the pitch that are undroppable. Anthony Santos, Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford. I think these 3 players he will never drop unless we see otherwise tomorrow. Ten Hag also speaks on Sir Bobby again, and he says he's in front of Old Trafford with Dennis Law and George Best. He is always with us and they are always a huge inspiration for us every day and for every game. That's very nice to hear from him about our legends. He says, moving on, he says, Ten Hag on the atmosphere on tomorrow. He says, it's always special every night at Old Trafford. The fans are always so behind us. It's a strong connection. The last home game against Brentford, when the game was going against us, they stayed behind us. The fans stick with us in adverse moments. We fight together. So definitely tomorrow, after the passing of Sir Bobby Charlton, their hero, legend and giant, I'm sure it will be a very emotional evening. Yes, it will be. 100% it will be a very emotional evening. But I tell you what, I remember the Palace game. I remember the Brentford game. I was sat near the tunnel. Lots of fans were leaving the stadium. They were not happy. And I understand where Eric is coming from. He's saying the fans are behind the team, and 100% the fans are. But the fans are also very frustrated, and it is going to be 100% a massively emotional night tomorrow, and we need to channel that emotion in the right manner and get a right result tomorrow. Because when I see all those fans leaving the stadium, I've never left the stadium early, ever. But I can sense the frustration from a lot of these fans who leave early because they're just frustrated and then they can't be bothered sitting there and watching that game. Especially, I remember against Brentford, how many fans had had left the stadium because we looked like we were just going to end up drawing. Moving on, he also speaks on Højlund again, and he says, it's quite a bit here. So he says, first of all, we have to work our routines. He misses pre-season, the first 4 games, but I think from the moment he came in, he gave the team a lot. We're building the routines, and that spit moment will give him more time and to make better decisions for more goals. But the goals against Galatasaray were 2 brilliant goals. As well, also the one in Bayern Munich. I think he's a player who will always be scoring positions in our team. I'm confident he'll score goals. And Marcus Rashford is the same. So he speaks on working on routines, and that's very interesting because I picked up on certain things against Sheffield United where I'm very patient with Rasmus Højlund, 100%, very patient. I understand he's such a young player. He's only been part of a starting 11 team, a year or 2. He's such a new professional in the sport. So lots of time is needed for Rasmus to develop. And he's getting in the right areas. It's just a little inch of tweaking that needs doing. And I think that's what Eric is referring to, just making sure you're keeping your line and staying on side. Not that he was offside, but against Sheffield United, I remember when Rashford made that poor pass to him. In my opinion, he should be much further forward, almost, starting his run. So Rashford kept putting it in front of him instead of behind him. And even if he started his run and Rashford misplaced that pass, it would look worse on Marcus Rashford because he was in essence making a poor pass. But because he stood there and Rashford ended up receiving the ball, he took a shot from long range, which could have ended up being a goal-scoring opportunity. So it's the little things. I remember Diogo Dalot as well, whipping the ball into the box from the byline, from the right-hand side, and Rasmus just missing by an inch. Again, same against Sheffield United, missing by an inch. But then, on the other side, he scored some fantastic goals against Galatasaray. The goals that he scored were really, really good, composed, strong, fast, resilient. So loads of positives to take as well. But the other things, I think, is just a matter of time before they keep doing the drills, they keep practicing. Rasmus understands his colleagues, how and when they're going to pass. There's obviously no language barrier, so that's brilliant. And it's just with time, I think he will definitely get more goals. But in my opinion, he started off really strong. He's definitely started off really strong his career in Manchester United. So that's very, very good. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anything. No, there are no more quotes. Something about... One second. Is there something about... Reguilon or Sancho, about Samuel Luckhurst had put something out, and he said, let me see. Ten Hag definitely said Sergio, not Sancho, in response to my question on team news. It sounded like he said Sancho, but club confirmed he was referring to Sergio Reguilon. So I think Samuel Luckhurst must have asked him a question about Sergio's availability for tomorrow, and Ten Hag's response has sent a lot of people thinking that it was Jadon Sancho, but it wasn't. It was actually Sergio Reguilon who he was speaking on, who will be available for tomorrow's selection. But that's the latest from the press conference. Now the players will head off to open training, and Beth will bring you some footage and content. The team over there in Carrington will bring you some content from the training session as well. I'm expecting a solid performance from Manchester United, but it's going to be interesting to see who the midfield trio are. I have a feeling it's going to be Eriksen, Amrabat and Bruno Fernandes. I don't know why I get that feeling. Comment down below as well. Let me know in the chat, who do you think is going to be his midfield players for tomorrow? In the back line, I'm expecting Diogo Dalot, Sergio Reguilon. I'm expecting Rafa Varane and maybe Harry Maguire alongside Rafael Varane. I think it might be the case, because Harry Maguire's had a solid game. He's had a solid game against Sheffield, and if you're going to be fair, if you're going to be honest, that warrants him a start. He got a man of the match performance against his former club, so it warrants him getting a start against FC Copenhagen. Made no mistakes, kept it tidy, kept it simple, kept it okay, and that was enough for him to be man of the match. So based on that, I think it'll be Varane and Maguire. In the front three is going to be interesting, because I don't think Erik ten Hag is going to make any changes from the midfield three, Rashford, Højlund and Antony. I am going to be looking closely at Antony as well, because we all know he loves scoring a goal in cup competitions. I'm just checking if there's anything else that's come out, but there isn't. But what would your starting lineup be as well, or your starting front three? I would like to see Alejandro Garnacho start, but again, I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be Marcus Rashford. But the thing is, you never know. Against FC Copenhagen, he might try a little bit different, go with Garnacho, Rasmus and Antony. I did enjoy, though, one of the things I picked up on is the diag ball from Antony to Rashford, and then Rashford squaring the ball to Rasmus Højlund, and Rasmus unfortunately missing that opportunity. But those patterns of play is what I was actually expecting from Antony last season, and I like that I'm seeing that now, and I hope he does that more, just, you know, cutting, inverting in from the right hand side and finding that, you know, pass straight across to the winger or the forward, and that's what his left foot is going to be used for, really. He's cutting in, and if the opportunity shows, then he can have a shot on goal as well. So yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. There's a little bit on from Mark Ogden quickly on Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well. I'll just quickly touch on this, and he says, while Sir Jim Ratcliffe's accusation of 25% of Manchester United isn't rubber stamped, it is regarded as a formality and is likely to be announced in the coming weeks. So Sir Jim hasn't been officially on pen and paper completed yet, but it is going to be announced in the next few weeks. But yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow. I expect a win. Daniel says Garnacho should start. He's definitely looking better. Yeah, he's definitely looking better. Facundo Pellistri should be given a bit of a chance as well. But now that Antony's back, we're not going to see much of Facundo Pellistri starting anyways. But I hope he can get some minutes whilst we're trying to rotate. I think a lot of people are agreeing with my midfield selection of Amrabat, Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. That's nice to see. Is there anyone who's put a midfield trio of someone else? Do you think Scott McTominay should start tomorrow? That's an interesting question as well. Do you think Scott McTominay should be rewarded and starting tomorrow? Maybe with Sofian Amrabat, Scott McTominay and Bruno Fernandes. The thing is, one player is most definitely guaranteed in that midfield is Bruno Fernandes. He's not going to be dropped. There's a lot of no's in the chat. That's very interesting. Someone says Scott McTominay is Moments FC player. Ricky will not agree with you all. Ricky would 100% start Eriksen and McTominay and Sofian Amrabat probably. But do you think he should not be rewarded? That's interesting. Very, very interesting from the community. Someone says start McTominay tomorrow and bench him against City. That's an interesting one. Someone says you can't rely on Scott McTominay. Someone says he hides too much. But the player scored. He scored 3 goals in what is it, last 2 games. So you have to give him some credit, whether he's Moments FC or not. The Moments helped us secure 6 points and 3 goals in 2 games. So someone says Amrabat, Mount and Bruno. Maybe that's another one. He only gave Mason Mount 3 minutes against Sheffield United. Is that because he wants to save him for the Champions League game? That's going to be interesting as well. But listen, all, thank you all very much for joining me on the coverage of the press conference. I really, really appreciate you all. I think Mark will be live later on tonight. Comment down below what you thought of the quotes. Comment down below what your starting 11 would be for tomorrow's game. We will be live bringing you all the match coverage for tomorrow, the build-up show, the forum. There'll be lots of content coming out from the stadium as well, from Beth, who will be covering the game from there. So, yeah, thank you all. Really appreciate you all. Have a good rest of the day, and I will catch you all on the next one. Take care, people.